Welcome to Film Study in All American Universe podcast because we're talking about homecoming today. But yeah, welcome to the podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, rate the podcast 5 stars. That whole deal. Today, me and Kelvin, aka Kofi on Twitter, we're gonna be talking about All American Homecoming episode 205. No more drama. And yeah, here's our thoughts, and we'd love if you'd share your thoughts with us in the comments. So hope that you enjoy it. All right, what would you rate this episode? By the way, did not get No More Drama, the song that Mary J. Blige has. So we did not hear that in the episode. But what did you think? What did you think overall about this one?
This was, I think, was a solid episode.
Hmm.
Now, uh, based on the Discord that I read on the timeline, there were certain parts that people were like saying, "Huh?" But overall, I got a pretty good vibe from this episode. I gave it a solid 8. It was a really, really good episode. I liked it.
Really? I'm
Yeah,
surprised you heard maybe I just was not hearing about the drama. But yeah, that's really funny. I didn't hear any drama. I heard more drama from the flagship show,
yeah. I
which I'm sure if you're listening, you might be listening to this after you listen to my review of that one. But yeah.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, we saw that. I'm gonna save my thoughts on that. I can't share. This is about homecoming,
It's
so
about homecoming,
I'll
exactly.
put my thoughts on that in the comment section on that video once we're done here.
Yeah.
But
Right.
yeah, the part about the drama. I mean, there's one particular part in there where we'll get to it when we get to it. That
Okay,
they just
sounds
thought was pretty
good.
cringy, but other than that, I
Okay.
thought that from what I got, most people were vibing with this episode. So yeah, it
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it as well. I think it was a I'm gonna probably rate it a 7. Yeah, around a 7. I want to say like a 6.9 ish 7. I don't know why I'm feeling the point nine and not giving it the full 7, but it was a pretty. I think it was a pretty solid episode. It wasn't like any like I couldn't say it was amazing, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I think this is the first time, by the way, that I've had a guest who has rated the episode higher than I have. So like congratulations to you.
Yeah, because I liked it. I mean, I the heaviness of the last episode, which I thought was beautiful. I That one is 10 out of 10 for me. So that was a great
Yeah.
episode.
It was really good. It was really good.
So it was gonna be kind of hard to how do you follow up on that when you're dealing with such a serious topic. But I think, in my opinion, based on what I saw, I think this was really really good follow up. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I gave it an 8.
I think the reason why it is like a near 7 for me slash it's like a 7 near 7 for me is because I felt like they did a better job of like balancing last week's episode almost, which is really odd. I don't know. I just feel like the for this being an episode where it was about sort of black joy, and I appreciate that they took the time, and we'll get to it when we get to it, but took the time to sort of highlight mental health after an experience like that. It still like it almost felt like heavier than the last episode, which is odd, which sort of makes sense depending on what they're going through. But I guess I just expected, I had a little bit of a different expectation, which is it just doesn't normally sort of catch me off guard with that, but it did this week. So that's probably why I rated a 7. But getting into it, like we saw, the start of the episode is like students sort of struggling to get through classes. They're reeling from obviously the shelter in place order and the bomb threat that happened in the last episode. And so Amara, who again is now the president, says that everybody is going to get a mental health day, and that it was her error for not doing this before, but they were going to spend some resources so that everybody can just take a day to take care of themselves, engage in self-care, and sort of reflect and reel from the events that happened on campus in the episode before. And I guess it was sort of maybe like a couple of days or a day or so before. So cancels class. I remember thinking about this in the predictions, but I said I hope that Amara takes time for herself, and she really didn't. And so she gave sort of everybody the self care day, and she was sort of on the phone with donors. And it's a little bit of a catch-22 situation because that is her job. President can't really take off, but she spent the whole day sort of just trying to reinforce sort of protection for the students and getting sort of more resources for like mental health as well on campus and talking to the donors. And Ralph came in and checked on her a couple times as well, brought her food and everything. But I think by the end of the day she did get like a little bit of comfort because she sort of was one of the last people to visit the wellness tent that they had set up for students to go into. And she and Simone ended that sort of bouncing around on the bounce house, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed it. It was reminding me of when I was in college when we would have uh, like final exam week, especially for the spring semester. They would always sort of have this like self care type of deal. Like they would have like a small petting zoo. They would have like bounce houses or whatever, and just things to get our mind off of exams and things to help self care. Obviously, this was a very different situation and a more dramatic situation, but it them bouncing at the bounce house, Simone and Amara at the end of that reminded me of that. So, what did you think of that story? So for Amara
Specifically.
specifically.
I thought it was really really dope. Like you said, she was just trying to give the students what they need because we just got to keep it real. That was a very very traumatic experience for everybody. Okay,
Right.
and you know, the easy thing to do is just to act like it doesn't happen, but just do business as usual. But it she saw that it was having a negative effect on students. So as a proper president, she gave them the proper mental health day that these people needed. Now, I would wish she would have, like you said, it's a kind of a catch-22. You can't really just, you can't take a break because, you're obviously the president of the school. But I did appreciate Ralph coming in, giving her food, and telling her to come outside and see the work she's been able to do because of this. And it was really really awesome, man. It was kind of cute at the end when Simone and Amara were enjoying the bounce house because Amara had told Simone earlier in this episode that she didn't want it. She wanted her to focus on having fun instead of trying to check in on
Yeah,
her. So
exactly.
it kind of tied that thing back. So I really really appreciated it.
Same here. Same here.
Yeah.
Um Someone who also had a little fun this episode, or at least tried to, was JR. JR and Gabby, which it was really interesting to me, this story, and I'll get your thoughts on it first. But JR spent the episode trying to prove that he could be in a casual dating phase to say the least, right? And
Uh,
that he doesn't just have to be a relationship man or a man who's like stays in relationships, but he can casually date. He can do a little phase here and there. So what did you think about that? What did you think about Gabby trying to help him do that, and him failing a little bit, him
I
failing
think
a
it
little
was.
bit?
I think it was funny. I think she's putting on game because I think she's feeling Jr.
Me
Yeah,
too. I was like,
yeah,
why are you telling this man?
yeah, yeah.
Why
I
are you
mean,
telling this man to go all around?
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the interior motives are, but yeah, I felt that it was kind of cute and funny, and I can't fault Jr. for wanting to be a relationship type of brother because I think it was I think the episode when he and Gabby, interacted when he was getting all these girls was hollering at him, "What's up, Jr.?" Or good luck at the baseball thing. He's like, game. She's like, "Yo, he specifically, I am just a one relationship type of man. I am a relationship type of brother." So we don't normally get those type of guys. Most dudes don't like to be in committed relationships. They like to just have fun, be casual, just holler at girls, nothing too serious. But JR is the type of cat that really wants to, settle down with, one woman. But I did find it hilarious that all, even him trying to be nice, came across as he still was trying to end up getting. The girls thought that they were trying to, date him and stuff. So it's kind of funny. I did appreciate at the end when he took off his shirt. That one
Right.
part was freaking hilarious, and I think
Yeah.
Gabby was. I saw her facial expression. She liked what she was seeing, so I don't know why
I
you're trying to
don't
set
know.
it
Did
up
she?
all
I
that.
she seemed to be genuinely helping him, which is really funny to me because I did think that they went on a date, they had a little something going on, but she genuinely was just like, "No, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you date around. I'm gonna help you sleep around, Jr." So like, it's very very interesting, but I'm excited to see sort of where their story goes next for sure, for sure.
Yeah, 'cause
Um,
yeah, I definitely think they're gonna be together. Because we can talk about this in predictions, but I get a sense that because in one of the synopsis, Cam is trying to set him up with someone. So my guess is that's probably going to be Gabby. So we'll see what happens.
we will, and yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to predictions. Um, so speaking of Cam, though, that was a perfect segue. I didn't even plan that. But speaking of Cam, Cam is struggling hard. Of course, he is the one who received the phone call about the bomb threat, and then had the FBI sort of treat him like he was the instigator, that it was a prank, or that he was responsible for this. Uh, and again, he's just having a really, really tough time throughout the episode. Keisha tries to check on him, but she has her own things going on because the dance professor that she's already had sort of trouble with is now not letting the dance students have the day off. They're just like, we don't have days off in dance, not here. And so while she's dealing with that, and she and her professor get into a whole little thing, her professor overhears her telling Simone that it's tone deaf to have the students in a dance class and not at least give art to their fellow classmates or whatever. So her dance professor ends up asking her to choreograph a dance. It goes well. Um, it goes well. It goes over well with students, but her professor sort of ends that, and she seems shaken up a bit about it. But her professor ends that with saying, like essentially, "Don't ever challenge me again. Don't ever call me tone deaf again, or you'll be dropped from this major." So anyway, so while Keisha's dealing with all that, Cam is not dealing with anything and sort of trying to conceal his emotions. Ralph comes to him, tries to interview him. He sort of goes off on Ralph. He's avoiding Marcus, who literally, I'm sorry, this was funny. I know it was a serious moment, but Marcus literally like running after Cam like two or three times, trying to help him, being like, nah, man, you finna accept my help.
Yeah, yeah, because he sees the young man is struggling. So
And he sees again. It was a very serious moment. I'm glad he did it. It was just really funny to physically watch him run after Cam. But Marcus essentially, when he finally does catch up with Cam, says like, you can't keep this in. You have to like let people know what you're feeling. You have to talk through this with somebody because you went through a traumatic experience. And so at the end of all of that, Marcus sort of encourages him to call the family, the family who attends family dinners, maybe minus Thea, and they all come after getting his SOS. He and Damon had a small conversation earlier, but Damon wasn't really able to sort of get through to him fully. But he finally sort of accepts help, and then tells the group that he's still dealing with this trauma that he experienced. And so they all decide to go to the wellness tent together, to talk to a therapist. And so that's how that ended. But what did you think about Cam and Keisha in this episode?
well, I had heard in previous podcasts you had been complaining that you kind of want their stories to kind of divulge and separate. They don't need to always be tied together. So you got
Absolutely. So I
your
was glad they had to yeah, I was glad that they
yeah,
were separated for the majority of this.
yeah. So you got your wish.
I did.
Yeah, I felt bad for Cam, and this part of the story hit so hard because when he said
Yeah.
that we can't go nowhere, I felt that.
Yeah.
And let's just keep it real. He's a young black male. I'm a young black male, so
A
I can
dark skinned black man at that,
yeah,
it's very intense. Yeah.
yeah, same as me. Like there were times where I felt that too, and it's just hard, man, because you feel like you hear the voice of hate, right? And you want to put on a front that you're good. And Cam is a tough guy because we've known him since the beginning days of All America. He's confident. He can be
Right.
such a he can be arrogant, but nothing really shakes him. But this kind of shook him to his core, and he's trying to play it off as, "Nah, I'm good, but you're not good." So I appreciated that Marcus, of all people, it was perfect for him because we know what Marcus has gone through with his own mental health struggles. We saw
Yeah.
it on full display last season. Quick side note: I'm glad he did apologize to Ralph, and Ralph was like, "Dude, you weren't no good."
Yeah. Very happy about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that so props for Marcus for that. So yeah, I'm glad that Marcus was there to tell him, "Hey man, it's okay. Well, you can do that." And it's kind of a stigma, like especially for black men, that we don't want to show our emotions. Like we always want to
Hmm.
just try put on a mask and just try and tough it out. But it's okay to let it out. Okay, it's not a
Exactly.
sign of weakness. So, and I really really appreciated that story. So, Cam
I
is
agree.
yeah, Cam's doing wonders, man. I mean, who would have thought after how we met him in All American as Spencer's rival to now he's like his own man on this show, and he's like a completely different. I mean, he still keeps some of the same qualities, but there's more to them. There's depth there, and I really really appreciated that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think I like that they've tied in Marcus, because I think Marcus has and he Marcus ended up, as they went through the wellness tent. Marcus ended up calling his therapist, which I believe is a black man, and I think that they said that early on in the season, um, in like the first or second episode, and so to see him coming through his situation that we saw at the end of season one to gaining the confidence to sort of get back into coaching, to then identifying these signs in Cam that he saw in himself, even though they were going through different situations, and to be so persistent. And I think, yeah, just to be so persistent in that, wanting to help Cam, and actually, finally getting through to him about this, about needing to talk to someone, I think is really, really important. And like you said, it is a bit of a taboo topic in the black community, and specifically around black men. So this was a really important, I think, important thing for them to show on television, because we don't get to see it often. Um, and we know All American does a good job with that. Like they did it with Spencer, sort of introducing that in season three, and so it's really nice that we see this sort of full fruition of like not just one person, but sort of this whole, Marcus and Cam and Damon, and extending to the whole group of friends, Simone and Keisha, as well. Nate wasn't present for this episode, and I think Jr. was there as well, and Thea was talking to her mom. So, but essentially the full group of them going, and taking their mental health seriously. I really appreciated it. Another note quickly on Cam, something that I've also been wanting to see, besides sort of Cam and Keisha getting these separated storylines, is an indication on where Cam and Simone are, in terms of their acquaintanceship or friendship or whatever you want to call it, because they are the two connections, right? They're the two connections back to All American. And so
Mhm.
I was really, because I was just like, are they friend? Like, what's happening here? They like literally barely interact. And I'm so glad that the writers finally clarified that they're just like, yeah, we're cool because of Keisha. we're not
Yeah,
really like we're not really
yeah,
gonna hang out. And again, I prefer they state that on the show, and now I'm like, okay, now I know we're not gonna get like sort of Cam and Simone content, which is fine. I just wanted them to clarify that, and so I'm glad that they took this step to clarify that. Um, and then speaking of Simone, Simone was going through her own little thing, uh, in terms of really not, as Lando put it, as Lando put it, like she doesn't know how to have fun. Her life is all about tennis right now, right? Her life in a, tennis and baby Shay, It used to be, Jordan used to be included in that. We know what that how that story sort of ended and concluded, but right now she's sort of all about being a mom to Shay, and all about sort of getting back on track with tennis and not much else. And so it starts off with her waking a snoring Lando up and saying, "I got a no sleepover policy, honey. I gotta, you know what this is. You can get out. You can get on my bed after they ended where they ended in the last episode." And so Lando sort of spends this whole episode trying to get Simone to hang out with him. She also says that calling them friends is a stretch, because I was just like, I've been operating under the assumption that they are friends, at least when she invited him to family dinner. I feel like that's a very friend coded thing to do. And it
Yeah.
seems like they've developed a little friends with benefits situation. So it's really surprising that she's just like, oh, it's a stretch to call us friends. But nevertheless, he persisted. Nevertheless, he persisted. And as we mentioned, Amara, after Simone tries to check on her, tells her to take the day off and have fun. And so then she goes to I think it's like the West Campus Library, and meets Lando and is looking at a painting that happened to be done by Lando's mother. And they have a bit of a conversation, and she finally sort of decides to hang out with him, after he finds out that she had never taken the freshman tour. And so they hang out. He is still just like, you're still, we've done this little fun thing, but you're still not really trying to have fun. She sort of regresses a little bit back to trying to go to the tennis courts and focus on tennis. But after seeing sort of how dedicated Thea is, she's just like, maybe I am learning what not to do. Maybe I do need to
Yeah.
maybe I do need to focus on some things other than tennis. And so she goes to a sorority booth that she had blown off before, and I think this is going to be her introduction to sorority life, which we'll get into that with predictions. But essentially, it's just like, I need friends outside of tennis, and I need to develop a community outside of my small community of friends. And so she then apologizes to Lando, and like we said, they have a cute little moment at the party at the end of the episode, and then she goes and ends her day with Amara in the bounce house. And yeah, I think I really enjoyed this journey in this episode for Simone, as far as her learning to develop a balance, because I don't think she ever had challenges with this balance in All American, or at least not that I could see on the surface. And I just love when they sort of make a point to show us the differences between Simone in LA and Simone in Atlanta on her own turf, and when it's sort of a different environment, when she's not necessarily like as as she's still assertive, but I really don't know how to. But she's more, she has less of a guard up, I think, in Atlanta than she does in LA, and I think that gives us the opportunity to see her in a more fuller light. But what did you think about that?
It was really, really good. Like you said. I appreciated Lando not being too pressed about the fact that she blew him off. Like you said,
Period. Yeah.
towards at the end of the episode, he's like, "That's all I wanted to do for you. Whatever to do for you to find peace." I'm telling you, man, Lando's gonna be a problem. So we gonna get into it.
And I'm here for it.
we gonna
And
get
I'm
into it.
here for
We're gonna
it.
get into a prediction. Side note: I like how he gagged Damon when he was
I
leaving
was gonna
the.
bring that up. I was gonna bring that up. Damon, as he's leaving Simone's room,
Yeah,
which Damon
yeah.
didn't see that, but
So
he's going to the elevator, getting in the elevator, and Damon
yeah,
says, like, I don't remember you living in this
oh,
this
yeah,
dorm this dorm hall, and he's just like, I don't remember it being any of your business where I
yeah,
live.
yeah. That's
So I
uh,
loved it. I loved it.
yeah.
And a quick note on that, real quick, is that typically I've said this before, is that All American sort of makes it this is counting the entire universe, I think. Thus far has sort of made it sort of abundantly clear who is and isn't supposed to be together, especially as it relates to the younger adults. Um And
Mhm.
so it's actually nice to see a triangle that's giving some competition. Like that's giving
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
competition because I think the other, the other, let's say like 3, 4 times that we've had this before, including Damon and Thea, including
Yeah.
David and Thea, have just not, that it's not like this is not gonna last, and you know who their person is.
Yeah.
Um, so that this is really exciting to me that they're actually, some competition
Yeah,
here.
I appreciate it. It's gonna be some fun TV. So, and going back with Simone, I like what they're doing with her character. We actually get an appearance again from Aquila, Jr's ex, who's part of that sorority life. So we're gonna see, after go initially after she blows her off for the mani pedicure, but then what she goes through during the course of the day, you know, she decides to, listen to what her auntie said and have that, relaxing, day. And I think it was brilliant for them to mirror her story with Thea's story in terms of when they actually meet on the tennis field when they're trying to, because we get the sense that both of them want to be the best at the sport. Okay, there's
Yeah,
no denying that. But I think Thea wants it a little bit more, and she's like determined, almost to the point of obsessed. You know what I mean? While Simone is kind of she has that same dedication, but she tends to realize that I can still do that, but I also can find balance and do other things. You know what I mean? So it was a good dichotomy there. So I appreciated what the writers were trying to say with both of those. So it
same
makes
here.
sense. And yeah, she had some, the her I'll give Simone this. She always comes through with the one liners. It's like, and Lando strikes up access. So what are we? You're just Lando. So
Literally.
so it's like, you know what? And he's given like, yeah, I'm trying to. I just don't want it to be what we doing. I'm trying to holler like, what's up? You know what I mean? And she's like giving him the Heisman. So it's gonna be fun to see that banter as the episodes go. So
It is gonna
yeah,
be fun, and I think it's gonna be even more interesting to see, um, you know, this because to that point, like I have been very surprised to see how even though it is like a sort of like friends with benefits situation, like
yeah,
you're just having fun. It's very, very casual. Was very
yeah,
surprised to see her so blocking of him. And I think that's gonna be interesting as we as they start, Simone and Damon have sort of been around each other and not around each other in the
yeah.
same way. Like they've spent a lot of time apart so far this season. So it'll be interesting when we see again more of Damon's reaction to Lando, and I think more of Simone's reaction to the two of them, right? Because her feelings for Damon didn't just go away. Um, I'm certain they are still there. So it's going to be interesting to see how that dynamic shakes out
Yeah.
in the future, as well as like Simone finding a balance again. So we'll get to that in predictions, but yeah, it's very excited and happy to see Simone's storyline in this episode. And then this, and
I already
maybe
know.
this
Here
is
we
what you're
go.
talking about. Maybe this is the controversy. And
Yeah.
then Damon and Thea. What's interesting about this is like usually Damon has drama, right? The drama is surrounding Damon. It's surrounding his family. It's surrounding his adoption. It's surrounding his, father, his biological father. But Damon had no drama in this episode, and in fact, he was playing mediator for much of the episode, which was very different than how we've seen him before. In the drama, the family drama that we got and that we usually tend to get with Damon, actually centered around Thea this time. Uh, I saw a tweet that said to intro this, Damon could ask Thea like, "How are you?" and she would be like, "Why are you asking how I am?"
Yep, I saw that tweet too.
And it's like,
Uh,
I I enjoy Thea. I appreciate Thea as a character. And listen, I'm not going to go into all of my thoughts on this pairing because I'm sure if you're listening to this, you have probably heard my thoughts on this
yes,
pairing
and you're
before.
probably gonna be shocked about my opinion about this once we get into it. So.
Are you a shipper? Are you a Damon and Thea shipper?
They're starting to grow on me. Okay,
Really?
this
Is it,
particular episode.
it's a case of the writers being like, you will it's the adoption thing all over again. Like, you will respect this storyline. You
Yeah,
will give it
yeah.
its just
I
due.
mean, this at least in this episode, they're growing on me. Okay, I mean, like because we had talked about this, and when we did our character break that journey for Asher, that I don't particularly pay attention to the ships on the All American Universe. And yeah, I watch
Right.
it, but but this one, but I can't lie, they were giving vibes, and and
No, I
now,
respect it.
it'll
I
be
respect it.
interesting. It'll be interesting. We'll talk more about it in predictions when Damon inevitably finds out about the situation between Lando and Simone. Then, and I have some theories about that. But I didn't. I didn't hate Damon and Thea in this episode. I thought it was cute. I'm sorry,
I
especially
I did
yeah
not hate them together in this episode again. I think going back to that tweet, I think there's something to be said about how difficult it is for them to communicate at times, but I actually really appreciated Damon sort of playing the mediator and not being sort of the center of the family drama for once. But
yeah.
to get into it, Thea's mom is visiting, and she essentially surprise surprise, which this is the aggressive twist that that I predicted, that I was hinting at. Is it Thea's parents didn't donate the tennis courts?
Yep.
Thea hates her mom. Her parents didn't donate the tennis courts, and she spent the her life growing up with her family, which I assume, or with her grandparents. And so I assume that's the grandparents that, you know, that's the family that Damon was sort of hanging out around the holidays, because he didn't know her mom when she came. And so it was really funny because when Mama Mays first came out, I was just like, not you referring to yourself in third person. I didn't. She it took her sort of the episode to grow on me. I'm still not 1,000% how I feel about her, but it was. I feel like as the episode went on, I sort of understood her as a mother more, and so she is sort of overbearing, asked Damon about Thea, was checking in on her, etc., etc. But what I loved is that after sort of this whole episode of them bickering, especially sort of on Thea's part, um between her and Thea, that after Damon sort of gives this speech to her and convinces her mom to stay and not leave after hearing that Thea sort of lied about donating the money, that she and Thea have this really really great conversation about Thea sort of reconsidering her priorities and saying that I was so obsessed with tennis, right? Like you said, that merge of storylines and the parallel and the mirroring of the storylines between Simone and Thea, and them sort of showing each other that, like, maybe tennis shouldn't be our life, and even though we are trying to be the best, like, we should take time to consider our families, consider those who we're closest to, consider those we love, though that last one is like, nah, there's an asterisk besides that one. I'm
I got some
sorry, it's
thoughts.
true. We'll
I
get
got
to it at the end. We'll get to it at the end. But, we should be considering all of these things, especially against the backdrop of what just happened to us and the backdrop of this bomb threat, where we're really reconsidering our priorities and what's important to us. And
yeah.
so that was interesting. And so another part of this story was that Thea hadn't sort of said I love you since they had said it after the bomb threat.
Hmm.
Cam ended up being a Dia shipper, which I don't know how I feel about that. But what are
Can we
your
at least
thoughts?
appreciate that Cam and Damon had a scene together since they're
I Can
roommates?
we? Because they literally never have any scenes together. I was very pleased, but also I
Yeah,
was just like, where has this been? Period.
yeah, yeah.
So yes, I do appreciate that. But what did you think about Damon and Thea, like, overall? I know that you said that you shipped them and that they grew on you, but
Uh,
especially how she ended the episode sort of singing for him to demonstrate her
that was the
quote unquote
part
love.
where people that was the part that people were like, exploding on the timeline. I mean, I saw your tweet about Thea. Same.
Looks it.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
first of all, Camille has an amazing voice. Let's get that
yeah.
straight. Camille
I've
has an
never.
amazing voice.
Yeah, I do. I've been a fan of hers. This is a fun fact. Like, I got introduced to her from the 22nd season of the Power Rangers franchise.
I was
Because
literally gonna say, was it Power Rangers?
yeah, because she was the first Black Pink Ranger. So she's like,
Wow.
yeah. So like for that, like I'm a fan of that series. Don't judge me, but that for that alone,
Never.
that's that's a she goes down in the pantheon for me. So, but aside from that, Damon and Thea. I mean, like I said, I liked it. I liked that Damon, like you said, was playing the mediator. He was trying to make a concerted effort to let you know her mother know that yeah, your daughter's been through a lot, but she's got a good support system here. Don't know and friends. Don't know how I feel about the friends part. I mean, aside from Nate, I know that her and Nate are cool. Don't know so much about her and Keisha, but most
Yeah, I was just
I,
like, who's? I was like, Thea ain't got no friends. That was a whole storyline last season, and now they're
Right,
trying to,
yeah,
yo,
but for the most part, they do care about each other. So
yeah,
I got that sense from that, and whether we think that they're gonna last or not, Damon seemed kind of pressed about the fact that Thea hadn't said "I loved you" back, or hadn't like mentioned it since they said it. I mean, he talked to Jr. about it. Like you said, he went to Cam and talked about it. So it was he said it first. So in his mind, it kind of he was kind of in his feelings about that. So, but the whole singing thing, I thought it was sweet, man. I did have a little smile on my face. Now I've been seeing some memes, some memes on Twitter before we started hopping on that about his face at the end when he was clapping, and most people
oh
say
yeah,
that wasn't Damon, that was Peyton Alex Smith. So I was like, I kind of
he's
laughed at
that's
that, but
hilarious.
yeah, but
Here's the thing. Here's the
yeah,
thing about the
yeah,
ending song and the ending, like that whole storyline surrounding their "I love yous."
yeah,
Clearly, Damon just spent the last episode before telling Thea he loved her. He sent a text to Simone that said, this is not the end of our story.
yep,
Be that, people can make their own conclusions whether they think that was romantic or not. But I'm going to say it was romantic given their
mm,
history.
yeah,
And then you have this very same episode. He's questioning why Lando is in the dorm. Like, obviously, he doesn't know, but, yeah, there was some inklings there. And so it's completely fair to say, again, you're having this couple say things to each other that, in my opinion, really, and what I talked about with Carmen last week, they don't really mean, like, they want to mean these things, but the context of it is that they're just sort of together out of convenience. And so while I appreciated hearing Camille sing because she was great, uh this pairing getting her getting best part.
uh, I get it. I'll be honest. To my opinion, I think at least from Thea's point of view, she really, really likes Damon. I'm
I think
gonna
they
believe
like each other for sure.
for sure. Damon's is where there's a little bit of gray area because, like you said, there's this unresolved feelings that he has for Simone, and it's just and it's setting up for heartbreak because even in when she was talking about to her mother about everybody who ends up loving me or letting me down or something or leaving me, and I was like, ooh, this could be it's like that was her mindset, and it was almost I don't want to say it's the same as what was going on All American between Spencer, Liv, and Layla, but it it's kind of like that, but we it might be they might go there or they might not go there. Yeah, we just don't know. You know what I mean? And it's I sometimes I throw my hands up and say, you know what, we'll just I'll take whatever it is. You know what I mean? And it's weird because right after I watched the episode, I actually went on a Twitter space when we talked about it, and I put the question out there about what is it about Damon and Thea people don't like. So took the time to sit back and listen. And basically, from what I got from that space, it's not like they don't like them together. They don't like the circumstances in which they got together, given what almost happened with Thea, and then it almost seemed like Damon only got with Thea because Simone shut him out in the first
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
So it's almost as if she's being it's it's she's like the second choice. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that doesn't that's not good for her, and that's definitely not good for him. So I could see why people aren't fully 100% on board with this couple. So
Yeah.
it's a fair point, but
It is a fair point, and I shared some of those sentiments as well.
yeah, and
Um
yeah,
but that was essentially the episode, and I'm really excited to get to the predictions. Thanks for listening to our review of All American Homecoming, and stay tuned for our predictions.